Okay, continuing from the last video, and kind of leaving where I picking up right off then. Basically, I think that um, the person I was talking about, in short, as I said to them, I think that there is a problem with racism in the Republican Party at the base of voters. I don't think you can deny that anymore. The reaction some of them had to the protests, the lack of concern some of them seem to have for the killing of unarmed black men. But I have also noticed a lot of people they don't want to talk about when it's a white person, like Kelly Thomas, who I talked about, and other white people who are also killed and shot by cops and police. And you have issues with that, and you have issues with racism on both sides. And some of these white people, though I'm not so much saying this person, I'm not saying the page I'm talking about, or even the commenter, but there is certainly with some of these people, especially if they are white guys, and I have talked to them, what amounts to a kind of psychosis on their part, especially and you can say this makes me racist if you want, but being a white guy, I don't see the point in shitting on white dudes all day. But there are people like that, and I find that to be very strange and so forth. But I think there is an economic issue in this country having to do with poverty, and I think that does harm both groups, black and white. But I do think it's worse for black people, and there is a racism issue in the right wing and with Republicans. I do think you have racism, but when you get to the top in a lot of the Republicans, I think the same is true for a lot of Democrats, and this is why a lot of them don't want to talk about this. The main fucking problem isn't that, it's fucking economics, it's capitalism. It's capitalist. It's money. Whoever you are that left, it doesn't want to fucking hear this. But to that person, to this person, to me, and to whoever else, and to whoever sees this, yes, racism is bad. Yes, there is racism in America and in the Republican Party, and some of the voters are racist. Economics is also a problem, and economics affect black, white, especially Hispanic people and immigrants who are being deported, and you're seeing a lot of negative things happen to them that Biden, by the way, said he didn't even want to pay attention to or concentrate on, and who Trump is obviously against, whether for racial reasons or any reason, he's obviously against them. And my point is, yeah, I do think, and yes, I do think if that guy had this white guy who killed this person or any black person guilty of any of the same crimes had affordable housing, living assistance, and other things, you're going to be more likely not to commit that crime. And I think that might have helped. Maybe not this crime, maybe not that person, I don't know, but that can, when you're in a situation, in a place in life, as many people are in this economy, where you have no place to live, maybe you have children, maybe you're going to be thrown out of your house, especially during a pandemic, maybe you're renting, maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck, maybe you're afraid of you're going to be evicted or being evicted, and let's say you have no food. Let's say you have no food and you have no foreseeable chance of getting gainful employment, and perhaps you also are not getting government assistance or you're having trouble with that. Then you want food, then you're a lot more likely to steal food, aren't you, than if you had food. You're a lot more likely to do that. There are people who steal shit. They just like stealing things. There was an actress, Winona Ryder, who played in Dracula. That's my main movie I liked with her in it, but she played in a few good movies. That's not the point. And I'm not dissing her, but she had kind of a weird thing, supposedly, where she liked stealing shit, shoplifting, and she was rich, but she just liked shoplifting. So there are people like that, but out there. But for the most part, like, let's say you steal something, you're doing that because you don't have any other money to get it or means of getting it. And in a civil, reasonable, liberal society, black, white, or anything else, we really should not, at the very least, I would argue, maybe instead of punishing them, you should feed them. You should try feeding those people, but even if you don't do that, you certainly should not look down on someone ethically, black, white, or anything else, because they stole something if they're doing it for food or something of that nature. And that is a thing. Or even if you stole a TV or something, chances are if you have a fucking TV, you're less likely to do it. Me personally, I know I don't have a itching desire to get thrown in a fucking dungeon anytime soon, so why would I? But also, going beyond that, tying every goddamn thing into race and making every goddamn thing about race in a racial conversation and putting off over half the fucking country is goddamn fucking stupid. I don't care what you say. Now then, that's all for that. Moving on. We're moving forward. And I do want to talk about one more issue on that front. They said Republicans hate gun control, but they don't want to arm blacks and Hispanic people. Now, I don't know what Republicans want to do because I'm not one, but I can tell you I'm not a pro-gun control, and I'm not big on guns. I'm not obsessed with them. I don't care that much about them, but I'm anti-gun control. I used to be more anti-gun control. I'm not as much anymore, and I don't really care as much just because of different issues, including how some of the supposedly pro-gun people acted to these protests and how they seem to be more pro-authority than anything. So I don't really see how you want guns to defend our freedoms. I don't think a lot of them do. That's for one damn thing, like they said, like Alex Jones and all those people said. I think that's a load of horseshit. I think if Hitler took over tomorrow, they'd be the first ones to join him, some of these people. But personally, as far as if you want a gun, I don't give a shit. And guess what? I don't care if black people and Hispanic people have them either. If they want them, take them. If you don't, then don't. 1 minute. 1 second. Seeing what my dog was doing, and I've got a rat problem. Or I don't have a problem. I just have one, but still, I have one rat, and I was also checking on my dog, but that's not the point. Anyways, what was I even fucking talking about here? Oh yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm pro-gun for black or white or Hispanic, and I was supporting the protest. And like I said, this person said right ring, and I'm not on the right decidingly. I think I've proven that, or I've been proving it. I mean, fuck, prove what? But I mean, I'm not, and I've said that a million times over, and you know, whatever. But on that issue, not on the fucking right. But I do support gun rights for anyone. I support the Second Amendment and the Constitution, something Republicans mostly decidingly do not, and perhaps this person doesn't either. I don't really know, but I do. Anyways, as far as the page goes, not this person I'm talking about, because I'm mainly talking about the commenter, but he does have a lot of good posts, and a lot of good memes, and he reposts his ironic memes by right-wing assholes, and Republican assholes, and he's very funny, and he makes a lot of good points. And his blog is, whether I agree with him all the time or not, and I don't know if I agreed with that post or not because I don't know his porn, but his blog is accidental left or left accidental, and he's pretty good. He's very good. Anyways, moving forward about wrestling, and that was the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video because I talked about some of that in the other one. The lingerie football league is kind of an old thing. It's been around for almost a decade, and I knew about it. I've talked about it probably, but it's basically women in lingerie playing football, and of course that's silly, right? Right? Would a insulated, mentally ill alcoholic in the middle of nowhere with absolutely no sex life want to watch women the very large asses and muscular bodies running around half naked? I mean, what would I want to see that for? I'm not a pervert or anything. But of course, anyways, back to the subject. It's quite popular with some people. It's got a niche audience, but it's an audience. And the point is, if even football, who I have never been not bored with, and even with hot lingerie models playing the fucking sport, I'm still bored. If that can have lingerie football league, and granted, I don't want to see an all women's lingerie company. I don't like any oversimplification or kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Beating it into like a pigeonhole or pigeonholing something in the way that these marks that I'm about to talk about actually do with wrestling, trying to make it too serious and make it all about sports. But with that being said, while I don't want to say an all lingerie company or an all women's company or all men's company or a company with nothing but serious matches or anything like that, I do like diversity and variety, and this is lingerie in a football company. I don't think a goddamn wrestling company that is supposed to be based on entertainment, whether they forgot that or not, can't goddamn have a lingerie fucking wrestling match, lingerie contest, and lingerie women in lingerie clothing. And they can't. And the reason for that is, one, Because, like I said before, basically, to some extent, identity politics that this guy done shitting on, identity politics and feminism wanted to make that all about women's wrestling and over emphasis or overemphasize and put too much emphasis on women's wrestling, and that's all serious all the time. And it's, you know, they really push that shit and feminism. And I remember they had girl slap guys, and there was a bunch of shit, and I didn't like it. And that's one reason I stopped watching much. And the other thing they wanted to do was they wanted to just have one match after another match after another match, and increasingly longer matches with a 3-hour show. And part of the reason that WWE agreed to do that was because they wanted to kill time, because they have 3 fucking hours of television, and with as many commercials as they have, and we have a commercial overload in this fucking country, they still didn't have enough time, or they still didn't get rid of enough time, so they just had a bunch of fucking wrestling matches. So they started doing that a year ago, they started doing that a decade ago almost. They started doing that around about 2013, or when The Rock left. When The Rock left the last time, they started doing that, really. And you have marks, namely, Ray Keller is the one I like the least, really, out of all of them. And he's this moralistic, self-righteous, lecturing, condescending douchebag and blowhard that I don't like. He knows nothing about the sport, and he read books, fucking promos, and he sounds like an absolute idiot. And Vince Russo makes fun of him, and he's probably humorous sometimes. But you've basically beat the shit into a corner, and you've pigeonholed the damn industry into being one thing, and it's a sport, but it's not even real. And you might not care about that, but it's a predetermined, scripted fucking sport. No other show on television is that. Okay, so you're turning it into something it's not, because going back to that damn, almost the goddamn fucking 1950s, it has not been that. And you had Gorgeous George, who was kind of homophobic, but he played this, or he could be considered that, but he played a eccentric, kind of colorful character, and he was a heel, and he was supposed to be kind of obnoxious, and he was very annoying type character, and but he played a character, and it was a very over the top character, and they did this all the way back in like the 50s. They started with that character, really. You can go back to the Carney days, even the carnivals. They had carnival outlets. They had women wrestling men. They had people, sometimes they would wrestle bears. You had large wrestlers. You had people they said were from like the Amazon or from jungles, women and men. Midget wrestlers, midget wrestling. You had that back in the 1800s when the shit started, because that's wrestling. And part of what is central, second only to, and in some cases not even second to, but at least second to, only to the damn matches, is the damn storyline and character and the character development. And when you take that out of the fucking show, well, it's a pile of fucking shit, isn't it? So you add that, and then the feminist women beating up men and everything to the goddamn show, and you take away the stories and characters on a fucking, from an industry that was built its audience based on storyline and characters, and you fucking, first of all, it's not even wrestling anymore, really, or it's not professional wrestling or pro wrestling. It's just not, and it's not even wrestling, because even amateur wrestling is real. So it's just tumbling. I think Russo said it was, whatever you want to say it is. And then when you add the feminism and the women beating up men and all that shit, what you have left is a fucking show that no one wants to watch, because the majority of the audience was male. And in the course of a decade, they successfully succeeded in having the second largest drop off to their audience and the ratings decline at any other fucking point in wrestling history, second only to or since the fucking Attitude Era ended back in 2001, 2002. And even then, they hovered around 4 to 5 million people. But since about 2013, and especially since Rock came back, when they finally saw the ratings go up for a little while, but when he left the last time in 2013, they had the largest drop-off in wrestling fans ever since then. And that's about 5 to 6 million fucking people tune the fuck out, and they have not tuned back in. And I'm guessing Fox, who for some reason gave them a $2 billion contract knowing this, eventually took note and decided, you know what, this sucks, do something different. And they did finally bring back some of the storytelling and stuff. Now, that's not the only problem. Not having a big star, for whatever reason, is a big problem. They wanted Roman Reigns to be that guy. They didn't listen to the fans. They wanted to copy John Cena, that was already not as popular as Austin and Rock and even Hogan and other wrestlers were, but he was not a successful copy of John Cena, and they have eventually turned him heel, where he's a bad guy now, recently, but they didn't even want to do that. And bad booking and having some people lose too much, and people leaving, the other people other than The Rock leaving the company, and issues with finances, and now the coronavirus and everything else has hurt the fucking company too. And only having that one company, so TNA and other companies aren't around to come up with shit. All of that hurt them. But the main fucking thing was this overemphasis on, we're gonna have wrestling matches and too much damn wrestling. And I'm not even talking about feminism that much, but this fucking emphasis on it's about wrestling. That we have to be this one thing on television that is, not only are we a fake sport, but we're also going to be this one-dimensional damn thing that even when you can even have a fucking football company with women in lingerie playing football, we are going to goddamn be this serious, overly serious, professional, legitimate, sports-like fucking type of I don't know, politically correct show, and we're just going to have sports, and we're going to have 3 hours of goddamn nonstop wrestling. And you saw what that did, because your audience depleted and left. And the only people you have left are these niche audience, niche idiots, this niche market, these idiots like Ray Killer, and no one else watches. And that is what you did to yourself. But I'm sure if goddamn women lingerie football league can exist, then goddamn wrestling can have lingerie on it, and stories and characters and goddamn midgets and everything else. It's a fucking television show. It's not goddamn golf. And maybe that's what you should be watching, because I don't even think UFC would be okay for you. You wouldn't like UFC because Conor McGregor, guess what, is a fucking entertainer. And even they have ring girls, so you wouldn't even like that. So maybe you should try golf, if that's not too much fucking excitement for your goddamn ass to handle. He's 666.